storms across many travelers to experience delays. And President Biden makes a surprise trip to Ukraine. These stories and more, News 11 starts right now. Welcome to News 11. I'm Andy Velez Davis.
And I'm Chloe Kowalik.
Chloe, how's your week been going?
It's good. I'm tired, but you know what? I'm very excited for our news today.
Yeah. So we should jump right in because we've got a lot of stories for you this week. The Fredonia School District welcomes another furry friend to their family. Millie, a Labradoodle from Cherry Creek, has become a new therapy dog alongside her owner, Kayla Sullivan, who is a speech pathologist for the school district. Millie trained to be a therapy dog at Kaylee Olson, Shayla's Canine Commands in Forestville, and completed all other requirements needed to acquire her therapy dog certificate. Millie will be joining Yost and Rudy, who received their certificates earlier this school year and will spend time in Fredonia's first and second grade classrooms.
Vietnam veterans have finally gotten to hear the words they wanted after more than 50 years. Welcome home. Chautauqua County leaders recently held a welcome home ceremony at the courthouse in Mayville for all Vietnam-era veterans living in the area. The ceremony recognized the end of the war as well as the names of the Chautauqua County men and women who lost their lives serving in Vietnam. One veteran, Jim Lemansky of Fredonia, was wounded in the war and won a Purple Heart. When Lemansky returned from the war, he was met with disrespect from protesters and a divided country. No one, other than family, was happy the vets had returned. Lemansky said, quote, "I didn't think it was going to be as moving as it was, but the speeches and people coming out is what we deserved when we came home the first time," end quote.
Buffalo News announced on Monday that their print production in downtown Buffalo will be shut down and moved to Cleveland. The move is projected to impact about 160 jobs for the company. An article published Monday by the Buffalo News said, quote, "This change will allow us to sustain investments in the journalism that is the core of our mission. The current plan is to close the Scott Street facility and start printing at the Plain Dealers facility in Cleveland sometime later this year," they wrote. The change comes after the Buffalo News owner, Lee Enterprises, sold its longtime base at Washington and Scott and moved to Larkinville in this past October. The current presses, which were installed in 2004, will be decommissioned once operations are moved, they say. The move doesn't just affect the Buffalo News, however, as some local colleges, such as Canisius University in Buffalo, use the location to print their campus papers as well.
Something new is coming to the McKinley Mall in Blaisdell, New York. Food Court skate park owner Weldon Jones recently bought 2 vacant stores in the mall in hopes of building an indoor skate park. Jones decided he wanted to build a park after realizing that there was nowhere for skaters to go during the colder winter months. He hopes that the building of the skate park people will recognize skating as a sport and bring new attention to Western New York as a place for skaters to go. Jones hopes the introduction of the skate park will bring more people to learn about and participate in the sport of skating. Jones says, quote, "You can be a day one skater or a pro. There's going to be different aspects of the park that cater to everybody," end quote. Jones believes that an indoor skate park has been a long time coming and is excited to see the community of skaters thrive with the opening of the indoor skate park in April 2023.
The Lieutenant Aaron Salter Memorial Scholarship Foundation will be hosting a 5K and a half marathon. The event will honor the victims of the Tops mass shooting and will take place on the 1-year anniversary of the tragedy. Salter was a retired Buffalo police officer who worked as a security guard at the Tops on Jefferson Avenue, where the shooting took place. According to investigators, Salter attempted to stop the shooter, unaware that they were wearing body armor. The suspect then returned fire, killing Salter. Buffalo police posthumously honored Salter with the Medal of Honor and promoted him to lieutenant. Salter was also honored by Canisius College during a commencement ceremony. Event organizers hope to raise $50,000 to cover 10 $5,000 scholarships for the City of Buffalo high school seniors in name of Lieutenant Aaron Salter.
On Friday, K9 Ico from the Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority was announced to be working security detail at the NBA All-Star Game. Ico is an explosive detective K9. Ico was sent to Utah with his officer Elliot Justinger to work with multiple security events leading up to the game on Sunday. Recently, ICO also worked security for the 2022 Super Bowl and is now back to work security in the 716. The NFTA Transit Police say that ICO continues to make the organization proud as he works multiple large security events and shows his skills.
Most people believe third time's the charm, but for one Niagara dog, he's now hoping it's his fourth. Ralphie is the 1-year-old 26-pound French bulldog described by a New York shelter as a terror and somewhat small package. This week, he was returned yet again another unsuccessful adoption by a woman who tried but couldn't tame the little guy. The Niagara SPCA, in a Facebook post, said Ralphie proved to be more than she could handle. The canine menace went viral a few weeks ago through the shelter's ad for Ralphie with phrases including "wrath will ensue." Ralphie's first family found a new home for him after unsuccessful training. His second home didn't take after that. Families said Ralphie annoyed their older dog. Following his now third failed adoption, the shelter has enrolled Ralphie in a 6-week boarding and training program. Ralphie's intense program begins Monday. The shelter's asking for donations to cover the $6,000 training costs.
According to AAA, gas prices are continuing to decrease across the nation at a slower pace. Across the country, the national average price for a gallon of gas decreased by only 1 penny. The current average price is said to be $3.41. But the average gas price in New York decreased by 3 cents since last week. However, throughout western and central New York, gas prices have decreased by less than a nickel. The Energy Information Administration says the demand for gas has slightly decreased while a total gas stocks increased. AAA says that if demand for gas continues to remain low, motorists should expect to see another increase in gas prices. And when we come back, we have your national headlines, including a look at Biden's surprise trip to Ukraine. We'll be right back.
When you think of the local lowdown, what do you think of?
Well, when I think of the local lowdown, it's the live music that we have played in the studio.
It's gotta be the laughs we shared. The memorable moments during the whole thing. Oh my God, so fun.
The local lowdown for me is the people behind the scenes, the amazing team that we have making the show.
Oh, it's gotta be exploring all sorts of genres and music I've never heard before.
Oh, easy. Going out to shows and talking to artists and getting the latest news on what they have planned for the future.
It's about these artists, man. Giving them a platform to showcase what they've worked so hard on and show their music to the community. It's all about supporting the local scene of music to keep it running for years to come. And of course, the band merch. You can't forget about the merch.
President Joe Biden swept unannounced into Ukraine on Monday to meet with President Vladimir Zelensky in a defiant display of Western solidarity with a country still fighting what he called a brutal and unjust war, days before the first anniversary of Russia's invasion. Biden spent more than 5 hours in the Ukrainian capital, consulting with Zelensky on next steps, honoring the country's fallen soldiers, and seeing U.S. embassy staff in the besieged country. Although he was on a Ukrainian territory for about 23 hours traveling by train from and back to Poland, in Kiev, Biden announced an additional $500 million in U.S. assistance on top of more than $50 billion already provided for shells, for howitzers, anti-tank missiles, air surveillance radars, and other aid, but no advanced weaponry. This is Biden's first visit to a war zone as president. His recent predecessors, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, and George W. Bush, made surprise visits to Afghanistan and Iraq during their presidencies to meet U.S. troops and those countries' leaders.
Winter storms are causing turbulence for travelers managing flight schedules across the U.S. A powerful coast-to-coast storm is impacting much of the western and northern states. Over 500 flights have already been canceled for Wednesday. That's on top of the 300-plus flights canceled on Tuesday. Travel plans are not expected to go any easier for those flying out later this week. Strong winds and heavy snow have been forecasted across the West and upper Midwest. Flight delays and cancellations are expected to increase through Thursday.
The Ohio Health Department, alongside the Columbiana County Health Department, opened a clinic in East Palestine yesterday. The clinic is set to answer any questions or concerns that residents have about the recent train derailment. Registered nurses and mental health specialists will be on hand along with toxicologists. Community members can schedule appointments by calling 234-564-7755 or 234-564-7888. The clinic is at the First Church of Christ located at 28 Martin Street in East Palestine. This is part of an extensive effort by Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and several state agencies to help East Palestine recover. For more information about the clinic, hours visit odh.ohio.gov.
Former President Jimmy Carter is entering hospice care at home. A statement from the Carter Center says the 98-year-old has decided to spend his remaining time at home with his family and receive hospice care instead of additional medical intervention. Carter recently had been in and out of the hospital for short stays. The statement went on to say Carter has the full support of his family and his medical team. The Carter family has asked for privacy and is grateful for the concern shown by his many admirers. Carter is the longest living American president in U.S. history. He was elected in 1976 and served one term in office.
PepsiCo Inc. issued a recall for more than 300,000 Starbucks coffee drinks after glass was found in some of the bottles. According to the FDA, the voluntary recall was issued on January 25th and covers 25,200 cases of the vanilla Frappuccino chilled coffee drink. The Food and Drug Administration classified this as a Class 2 recall, which means, quote, the product may cause temporary or medically reversible adverse health consequences or where the probability of serious adverse health consequences is remote, end quote. Bottles with expiration dates of March 8th, May 29th, June 4th, and June 10th are affected by the recall. The notice does not mention if any injuries have been reported or how the glass was discovered.
Prosecutors in New Mexico have downgraded the manslaughter charges against Alec Baldwin in the Rust shooting. The move reduces the amount of prison time the actor could face if convicted in the on-set killing of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Last month, Baldwin's attorneys filed a motion to have the firearm enhancement charge dropped. Prosecutors said in a statement the enhancement was being dropped, quote, to avoid further litigious distractions by Mr. Baldwin and his attorneys, end quote. Dropping the enhancement could take a minimum of 5 years off of Baldwin's sentence if found guilty. The special prosecutor also dropped a firearm enhancement charge against Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the film's armorer. Now when we come back, a news anchor joins News 11 and Hunter Halterman joins us for this week's weather update. We'll be right back.
To Sofia and Gabriel, Mis Flores, my little flowers. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love, so you can take me with you wherever you go, near or far. These stitches and threads join us together. Me, your mother, and both of you. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you as you bring our colorful stories to the world.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out. Good night.
And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
We're now joined by Ethan Smith, who is a familiar face to our Sports Hour viewers, but it's his first time on News 11. Ethan, are you ready for your first sports update?
You know what, Chloe? I think I am. Let's start with local sports as we're getting into conference season here at SUNY Fredonia. Last week, the swim team took part in the SUNYAC conference meet, and the men's team came home with two new school records. Patrick McCrone broke both records in the same day, breaking both the 100 back and the 400 IM. The men's hockey team has their opening match of the SUNYAC tournament tonight in Geneseo, a rematch of their senior night, which saw the team upset the Knights, securing a playoff spot. With the win, they play again this Saturday. And lastly, the men and women's track and field team had their SUNYAC meet on Friday and Saturday in Brockport. Moving on to the Buffalo Sabres, the team is still in the playoff hunt, but currently aren't in a wild card spot. Last night was a disappointing match between the rival Toronto Maple Leafs, which saw Buffalo lose 6-3, with all 3 goals coming in the third period. Goals were scored by Alex Tuck, Jeff Skinner, and Jack Quinn. The Sabres now sit 4 points out of a wild card spot and play again tomorrow night in Florida against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, I'm very excited because I just have been wanting to go to a Sabres game for a long time, and with them not winning games, ticket prices are going down.
Yeah,
ticket prices are going down. So
I would hop on SeatGeek.
Yes,
hop on
yes.
stuff like that. But I
Yes.
would also look into the Buffalo Bandits because the Sabres, they'll rip your heart out, Chloe.
Yeah, I know. That's the trade-off. So, all right, we're now going to toss it over to Hunter for our first forecast of the night. Hunter, what do you have for us?
Hello, Dunkirk and Fredonia, and welcome to a pretty upsetting weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Our winter weather advisory will continue until around 10 p.m. tonight. You can expect to see a rain-snow mix with some ice accumulation on the ground. If you plan to drive, be careful and stay aware of the conditions. The temperatures will get down to around 29 degrees with about 30-mile-an-hour winds, leaving it pretty frigid. As for tomorrow, the rain will be more spotty throughout the day, with more of it coming towards the afternoon. It'll reach a high of 46 in the day, getting as low as 24 at night, and in classic Fredonia fashion, it will be windy and it will be cloudy. Later tomorrow night, we will continue to see our rain-snow mix and accumulating up to around 2 inches on the ground. And when I come back, I will have your weekend weather forecast. Back to the desk.
And when we come back, we'll have your international headlines, including an update on the second earthquake to hit Turkey in less than a month. We'll be right back.
This one's for the real ballers and shot callers, the sisterhood of women in tech. They're discovering cures, building apps, and programming the blockchain. They're CEOs, worldwide hustlers who can make it rain. They're tearing down the old boys club and seeing big gains. Because when women in tech come together, you know they make that change.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort
to get to know each other
on a deeper level. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes! Make a plan today.
According to the U.S. Geological Survey, a 6.3 magnitude earthquake rattled Turkey on Monday night. The earthquake was centered near the southern city of Samugdan, which suffered catastrophic damage from another 7.8 magnitude earthquake earlier this month. The latest quake came as officials from Turkey and Syria reported that the death toll from the previous earthquake had reached 46,957 people. The search and rescue teams in both countries are surveying the latest damage and have reported at least 3 people dead and 213 injured after Monday night's quake.
Researchers announced that a 53-year-old man in Germany has been cured of HIV. Known as the Dusseldorf patient, researchers say he is the 5th confirmed case of an HIV cure. Details of the successful treatment were originally announced at a conference in 2019. However, researchers could not confirm if he had been officially cured at the time. Today, the researchers announced the Dusseldorf patient has still no detectable virus in his body, even after stopping the treatment 4 years ago. Now, the Dusseldorf patient joins a small group of people who have been cured out after a high-risk procedure that effectively replaces a person's immune system called a stem cell transplant. The primary goal of the procedure is to cure someone of cancer, but it has led to be a cure for HIV in a handful of cases. With about 38.4 million people globally living with HIV, treatments have come a long way, and modern medicine can keep the virus at bay. Scientists are hopeful with studies looking into the prevention of HIV infection with a vaccine are underway.
The country of Israel is facing significant upset regarding judicial reform. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has proposed legislation that will keep his government in control of the courts. This new legislation will ban unelected judges from nullifying laws passed by Parliament. Because of this, judges will no longer be able to determine laws as being unconstitutional. Now there will be no guaranteed checks and balances, and certain branches of government could become more powerful than others. This could result in Israeli people losing civil rights and liberties. After a short break, we'll be back with your trending stories and one last look at the weekend weather. We'll be right back.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has officially begun. The first movie of Phase 5, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, was released this past Thursday night. In its opening night, it earned $104 million in ticket sales domestically, crushing the previous two Ant-Man movies. That being said, it has received very mixed reviews. It has been given a Rotten Tomatoes score of only 48% by critics. This makes it the second worst Marvel rating, only slightly above Phase 4's Eternals. The next movie in Marvel's lineup is Guardians of the Galaxy 3, set to release May 5th.
The Netflix Surprise Me feature is no more. A spokesperson for the streaming giant says the company discontinued the feature last month because people weren't using it that much. The feature was introduced in 2021 under the assumption that users were feeling choice fatigue among other sites' many offerings. But it turns out users tend to get on Netflix to see a specific show, movie, or genre. Netflix says it will continue to offer users ways to discover new content.
The Oscars is adding a crisis communications team to its award ceremony this year. Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences CEO Bill Kramer says rapid response professionals will be on hand during the March 12th broadcast. This move follows Will Smith's shocking slap of comedian Chris Rock during last year's show after he made a joke about the, quote, King Richard, end quote, star's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. Smith said in an interview months after the altercation that he, quote, lost it when he put his hands on Rock. Smith is now banned from Academy events for 10 years. All right, Andy, have you seen the new Ant-Man movie?
I have not. I'm actually kind of surprised that it did, like, its second, as bad as, like, Eternals. I watched Eternals last year. I think it was last year, and I just hated it.
It was bad.
sucked.
It was not good.
And I'm kind of shocked about Ant-Man not doing that well, despite it doing better than the first two movies.
Yeah. All right, Hunter. Now, do you think that this weather this weekend is going to be Scott Lang friendly?
I don't think so, unfortunately. Heading into the weekend, Friday is going to start us off pretty chilly. Temperatures are expected to reach a high of only 28 degrees. Throughout the day, it will get low as 18 degrees Friday night. There will be some flurries in the morning and late at night, but overall, it's expected to be a pretty cloudy day with not much precipitation. The late night flurries will continue into Saturday as our temperatures reach a high of 32 degrees to get a low of 24 degrees at night. Saturday night will set up conditions for Sunday's morning snow showers, but I do have a little bit of good news for you at home, hoping to get out of the house. Our sun will come out at some moments throughout Sunday, letting us have a little bit of okay weather after a few pretty bad days. Temperatures are going to reach a high of 37 degrees and a low of 35 at night. My advice for this weekend, stay in and stay warm. But that's all I have for your weekend weather forecast, and I'll pass it right on back to your hosts at the desk.
I am not looking forward to this really cold weather.
Me neither. But you know what? It's a perfect time to stay inside, have a hot chocolate, watch Ant-Man Quantumania. Well, actually, you'd have to go to the theater for that.
Yeah.
Watch the other two Ant-Man movies.
Yeah,
then watch
Quantumania.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, it's one of those days that we just have to wait until the warmer days come on by. But With all that, this does it for this week's News 11 update. Thank you to our entire behind-the-scenes crew.
And of course, thank you to everyone watching at home. We'll be back next week. Have a great night.